Welcome to the Pink Lady Posse podcast, Women Who Refuse to Disappear. You are either creating your life or living one you inherited. Friction management. It matters because breakthrough is your way out of drift. See the drag? Return to say, let's go. I am Sandy Parker Martinez, and I am so happy to be here today with Laura Evans, someone I really respect and love. Laura is a certified mental wellness coach, a certified child safety expert. We're going to hear about that. But where I know her as an entrepreneur leading teams of women, and that's what we're here about, is to help women have a life where they refuse to disappear.
Oh, I love it, Sandy. I love this topic. And I'm so thankful that you are stepping boldly into lifting women up.
Yay, it's the best. And as you know, I did a TED Talk in November.
Mhm.
When I got home, I looked back at it and I saw these elements of what we do to ourselves. Like we let the expectations of others drive what we do and don't do. We say and don't say things that we maybe should. And then over time, we can get worn down. So I just want to know from your perspective, and man, you've worked with women, well, children up to, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Mhm.
95 probably.
Yeah.
What do you see that could help women live a bolder life?
Oh, that's such a great question. And yes, what comes to mind for me the most is really my corporate career experience. I'm a Fortune 500 executive. I was president of billion-dollar companies. I was at some brands that you may recognize, J. Crew and the Walt Disney Company. I was often the only woman in the boardroom
Ugh.
and often the youngest. And so when I hear you say that, I think back to that person and I think back to what I saw and observed in myself and in other women in management that I had an opportunity to be a mentor for and to kind of lead and light the way. And that was, we tended to discount ourselves. Men come to a boardroom and they just say, this is what we need to do, or this is what's happening, or this is what the data shows. And women come to the boardroom and they say, well, I'm not really sure if this is a good idea or not, or, maybe this isn't the right direction, or I don't know what you would think about this. We pre-qualify what we're going to say because we're nervous about how other people are going to think and react to it. When the most important thing and we do it to ourselves, the most important thing that we can do is to really lead with confidence. And that confidence is from within. It's the self confidence that comes outward, and then to be able to speak, this is the direction that we're headed in. So that's what I've observed and
Okay.
seen a lot.
So I got two questions. One is, I'm going to weave in friction for a minute because when my mother would say to me, because I said so,
Mhm.
I didn't question whether it was perfect, whether it was practiced, or she had a say so.
Mhm.
So what I am trying to figure out is where does that say so live in us so we don't have to fix ourselves on the inside, right? Because you go, it's our inner voice. I'm like, well, what if my inner
Yeah.
voice is shaky?
Yeah.
Like, can we
Yeah.
just get settled with I have a say?
Correct. And that you're worth it, that your say matters. And whatever your say is valuable. That's what it is. That's where it comes from. And usually our say in things is from a conviction of experience, something that we've experienced, like a mother protecting a child, or someone that has already walked a road and is steps ahead and can predict and see this is what's going to happen down that path. So it is okay to be able to say what your opinion is or what you think about something just because of your own lived experiences, and that your experience matters and is valuable.
Okay, so you're in that boardroom and these men are saying, here's the data, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I gather from your position, you weren't afraid to say what you thought.
Right.
Was that right?
I'm a quick learner, Sandy. So I listened, I watched, I observed, and I learned the game, and I learned how to be heard and how to be. I learned what mattered and what didn't matter in terms of qualifying. Especially when you're running a business, then you can't base everything on feelings. Something's got to be based on what's the actual data and what are the facts showing. So I learned the importance of how that adds credibility to whatever I was saying. And so I learned to speak more in that type of language, in that type of executive language, where, they all had MBAs and PhDs and all kinds of degrees, and I didn't. I was a college dropout. But I was wise and I understood people and I understood marketing and sales.
Well, we were talking earlier about the expectations or I like to say, we either create our life or we inherit one. So many
Yeah.
of our thoughts were infused in us before we
Yeah.
even knew it. And then we grabbed some others along the way. And
Yeah.
so, what expectations or what assumptions do you think those men had in that boardroom about women?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's the stereotyping that exists in society. Women are not good at math. The stereotyping that, women are just all about feelings and they lead with feelings, not, which can be a good thing, but not that they're able to make a logical decision. Those kinds of things. Women are, change their mind quickly. They are not committed to something. And women may not know business as well as men know business. All of those kinds of assumptions existed. And, I was less concerned with what they thought than I was, what can I learn from it? How can
Mm.
I take this experience and learn from it and be better? Because I think we are always improving and being better. And I'm just so grounded and rooted in who I am, a child of the king, a daughter of the king, and a woman of impact. I just feel like I've always been told that, seen that, felt
Wow.
that. Thank goodness for a wonderful mom that, spoke that into me and good friends that were around me, that I just am less concerned about what others think as I am about what's going on with me and how can I learn better and do better.
Boy, that's so inspirational. I was telling you this story about my gas light. I went to Austin last week and I saw my gas light come on and I'm like, it just goes bing. I mean, nothing dramatic. But man, I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm almost 70. How can I go on a trip and not know I need gasoline?" And then I looked down and it's 40 miles to go and I got plenty of gas. But that what I went through, it's just a sign. That
That's
little
right.
sign is not disappointed in me.
That's
I'm not
right.
a bad driver because I need more gas. I just need more gasoline.
That's right.
But sometimes things happen and we go in this inner world of what we make out of it. And that's what I want to liberate women from is seeing
Yeah.
something like a gaslight or something like data or something
Yeah.
like a look
Right.
and not make it mean so much about us.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working with a neuroscientist and understanding about our neural pathways that are, like these ruts or these well-traveled highways in our brain that is by creation and design to protect us in a survival mode. But in today's environment, those can be off center. Like our brain will associate an experience like that gaslight coming on with something that we did in our past and disappointed our parents, and we were called out for it. And so immediately our brain and our neurotransmitters are sending a signal to us that we're a disappointment. And we are not a disappointment. That is not who we are and what we are. That is just a sign. So I've learned, and she used to teach, she teaches that, take captive your thoughts, just like it says in the Bible that we were encouraged to do. And I do think, by the way, some of my nonchalantness, my not caring what other people think comes from my studying of Jesus and how much he really didn't care what everybody else thought. And I figure if it's good enough for him, then that's good enough for me. So I'm thankful for the Christian education that I had growing up and how it's benefited me far more than I ever appreciated at the time.
Yeah, I
But
bet.
what I was saying is she teaches take captive your thoughts. And just because you think a thing doesn't mean it's bad or that you're bad, that it's okay that thoughts are fleeting and you can think a thing, but to immediately do a disruptor to that neural pathway. And one example is stop. She just teaches if you catch yourself thinking that and beginning to associate something or a judgment of yourself, say stop it. That's not the truth. That's not who I am. And then redirect, just as if you were at a stop sign and you were turning right or left. And it's a it's a hokey little thing, but actually I really think it works for people. Is the fact that you think it doesn't make it bad and doesn't
Or
make it true.
true.
It doesn't make it true, not at all. But what you can do is you can take captive the thought, stop it, literally stop it. I heard someone else teach that she treats it as like it's like a little demon, and she squishes it like a bug.
Oh,
And
how
that when she
funny.
sees and thinks of it, she squishes it like a bug, because we have power and authority over these things, and then redirects. So I love what you're doing, empowering women to help identify that those patterns, those thought patterns are normal. They happen to every single one of us. The difference between folks that are achieving and coming through it are able to take it captive and to stop it and to redirect it versus spiraling into it and letting it control you.
Well, you don't know it, but you just set me up for the whole tomato on friction because it's not a little demon, but it is a little thing. I mean,
Yeah.
in my mind. And the other thing is, it happens so fast that to stop it is really beginning to notice it and stop it, right? It's like you have to learn a pattern of that. So
Mhm.
my phrase around friction is see the drag, what's
Mhm.
putting drag on your momentum, or see the what
Yeah.
happened and
Mhm.
return to your say.
Yeah.
So it's like the redirect that you just spoke
Yes.
about.
Yeah.
So one of my clients, she's big about her son. I mean, she raised him by herself and he's her whole world. And he was coming over for Easter. And we
Mhm.
were doing a little assignment about friction. And I said, where can you imagine friction might show up in this
Mhm.
time with your son? And she
Mhm.
said, oh, I don't know. I'm just so happy they're coming. I'm getting ready and I'm cleaning. You could tell she was like manically getting ready,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I said, well, is there any chance that performing could show up versus just being present with him? And she
Mhm.
goes, oh, yeah. I said, okay, so let's just name it performing friction
Mhm.
and see it like a
Mhm.
lightning bug
Yeah.
and just go, oh, there's a little perfection friction or performing friction, and then
Yeah.
just return to presence.
Yeah.
Because when you practice, what you know is going to happen. I mean, if you know yourself well, like the voice of my mother is reliable. I
Mhm.
know what she's likely to say at times. She'll go down here, you know,
Mhm.
inside of me, I still have her voice. And
Mhm.
it's one of those neuro pathways. And if I don't have
Mhm.
a way to disrupt it, she might say, you don't want to do that. And I don't even
Mhm.
know if I want to do it or not.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to
Yes.
say,
Yes.
stop. I love that. Stop.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that space gives us a chance to choose.
Yes, yes. It's very powerful. And the reason that, it works is because we need it. And so folks use it, practice it, and it does take practice, but it's very effective.
We were using the example. I know we've both been involved in a company that I love. And
Mhm.
when I got to make phone calls sometimes, I love
Mhm.
the product. And
Right.
I go, oh, I can't wait to tell somebody. And then I go to make
Yeah.
the phone call and I pick up the phone. I go, uh, what
I
am I going to
know.
say?
I
So
know.
if I could get out of performing or out of, I don't know what that is, but whatever that is for that person,
Yeah.
they can detect it. They have choice. If they
Yeah.
can't detect it, they're in it and they can't really manage it, right? So we lose our
Right.
choice when we just go with those automatic ruts. And that's what I want women to
Um,
have. Their say, their choice.
Oh, that is so powerful, Sandy. I love that you're talking about choice because choice is empowering. Choice is, God-given for us to have, and I see that often. I most of the time I believe that that's fear coming up. And I will tell you, when I went from working in a corporate world to working from home as my own entrepreneur and building my business, and I was faced with reaching out to people. And I love people like you. I love
I
people.
know.
I get my energy from people. I love being around people. I love learning from people. I'm not afraid of people. And thrive off that. But I'm telling you what, the dishes in the sink never looked so interesting to me as it did when I started building my own business. It's like I couldn't walk by the kitchen without the dishes calling me. If there was laundry that needed to be done, I would do anything to avoid making a phone call or
Mhm.
reaching out to someone. And
Mhm.
then I finally had to just face myself of why is that? Why is that? And for me, what it came down to was fear of rejection. I was afraid of what if I don't have the right words to say? What if they think I'm trying to be salesy and it affects my relationship with them? What if they're not interested in what I'm offering? And how am I going to feel about myself because of that? It was all of that. What if I don't know enough about the product and they ask me a question and I don't know enough. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutrition expert. I didn't go to school for nursing or anything like that.
And you're a
So
college dropout.
Quick question. Have you noticed how easy it is to drift through this season of life? Not unhappy, just slightly checked out. Yeah, that. At Think Pink, we don't fix women. We help them come alive again. Honest conversation. Easy occasions for discovery. No duct taping a smile over burnout. No reinvent your entire life by Tuesday. Just people who care and gentle nudges that help you feel like yourself again. I mean, the truth is, you can't be your best self by yourself. If that sentence made something in you nod, we made a free Think Pink starter gift just for you. Come take a look. No fixing, just connection. Go to pinkladyposse.com and click on Think Pink. Stay awake to your own life and not alone.
like that.
And you're a
So
college dropout, right? Like
yes, yes.
I have a
And
girlfriend that's
yeah,
83 years old because she didn't finish high school. She's the number one in her company,
yeah,
but she still struggles with that to this very
yeah.
day.
That's something that hangs over you. So I just had to learn that if I named it, kind of exactly what you were doing about naming the friction. When I give it a name, it has less power.
Mhm.
When I let it languish and linger, it has more power. It digs in and takes roots and like builds a house. And if I can name it, I can stop it. And then I go through that thought process, that very, healthy experience or cycle that I learned somewhere along the way of, well, what if that happens? What if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? What could I say? And what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that can happen if they say they're not interested? Then I don't lose my house because of it. And I just talk to the next person and I'm still friends with them. So then I began incorporating my anticipated objection into what I was saying to them so that
Oh,
I kind of got
brilliant.
it out in front.
Brilliant.
Like I know that you're maybe busy and I know you're not expecting to hear from me to talk about nutrition, but here's why I'm reaching out to you about it. And so I began to overcome it that way.
Well, my husband has heard enough about friction for years, right? But the other day I was working on a flyer and he goes, "You're still working on that flyer?" And I was like, "I know, like I have perfection friction.
Mm.
Like I'll do 25 tweaks." That the dishes reminded me of it. I'd
Mhm.
rather work on a flyer in Canva
Mhm.
than do the work, right? So,
Yeah.
but I actually didn't catch myself in that because I really was on the 25th edition.
Yes.
And my husband goes, "You might have some perfection friction going on." And I'm like, the minute I saw it, I thought the first two versions were fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in the swimming of it and I
Yeah.
can't see it for myself. And
Yeah.
so when he was able to offer that, and he's a PhD, and
Hmm.
he told me the other day, this is another one, identity friction.
Mm.
He's Hispanic and he grew up with a single mother, very poor. And I said, "You already have a doctorate. Why are you going for another PhD?" And he goes, "Oh, I love learning." I said, "Yes, I know you love learning. And is there anything under that?" And he casually just, "I'm probably making up for being a poor Hispanic boy." And I said, "You know what? Those identity factors still drive us." And he's 65 and I'm
Yeah.
70. So
Yeah.
had we not had that conversation, I said, "You can still get your PhD, but at least you have the choice over it." So I'm all
Right.
about choice because I'm 70. The average woman lives to 86, probably
Yeah.
with your collagen products longer. I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
But it was eight, that's what 16 years, almost the amount of time it took me to have a baby, raise a baby, and send the baby to college, which feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
But I got 16 years. If that's true, I'm going to make the most of them. Make
Yes.
them mine.
Yes, yes. And that's the power of choice. I mean, that's the kind of wisdom I think that does come with recognizing the fleeting, that life is not forever on earth. And there's a limited number of sunsets that we have yet to experience. And am I going to give up my freedom and my feeling and my ability to enjoy that sunset because of what somebody else thinks of me or what I think they think of me that I might be making up in my head? Or am I going to press forward and enjoy and thoroughly live out the next thing in front of me?
Not only that, but the impact you can have.
Correct.
So
Hmm.
speaking of impact, I
Yeah.
know that you are an advisor for children.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. And because,
Sure.
life does happen.
Yes, yes, it certainly does. We are blessed with four amazing children who are all grown now and doing very well. And we've got three grandkids. And yes, the grandparenting's wonderful. It's delightful. So during our time of raising children, one of our teenage daughters attempted suicide. And that was a real wake-up call. It was an outcry for us that made us aware. She came forward and told us that she had been sexually abused and trafficked by our next door neighbor, which was a trusted neighbor, no one that had ever been in any trouble with the law at all, most popular dad in the neighborhood. Her best friend was his daughter, so she often would spend time with her best friend, and likewise from our house to their house and all of the things. And she never spent the night away from us, though. That wasn't allowed by us. We thought we were protecting her with that. We taught her stranger danger. We taught her internet danger, but we weren't aware that the monster was closer to us than what we
Uh,
thought. And so that put us on a process of healing for her. She went through mental health therapy and a lot of different other modalities, which entirely led me to focus on the gut brain connection and become a mental wellness coach because I was seeking as a mother products that could help walk alongside what she was going through to help her sleep better, help her be less stressed, and all of those kinds of things without as many side effects. And so she's doing very well. She gained the courage to prosecute her abusers. After 3 years of on again, off again court cases, we did ultimately get justice in that case, and they will never hurt any children again. So we praise the
woo!
Lord for that story. It's God's story of redemption and restoration. And on the other side of that, I became very involved in educating adults on child sexual abuse awareness and how did I miss the signs? What were the signs? How did I miss them? What would I do differently? What did I long to do differently so that this wouldn't happen to another child or to another family? And I just became very involved in that. She inspired her therapist team. Our daughter had such a heart of gratitude that we were able to provide whatever resources she needed. but the other kids that had been abused alongside her didn't have that kind of financial support or parental support. And so she inspired her therapist team to create a foundation that provides mental health therapy scholarships. And Sandy, one of the main drivers for me from a business perspective is I feel beyond blessed with the success that I've had in business. And I'm running a business now that is very successful and growing. And the sole purpose for me of that business is for it to be a vehicle to contribute. And we're the top contributors to that foundation. So we've provided hundreds of thousands of hours of mental health therapy scholarship to people that we'll never know and never meet. But that is what we've been able to do because of our heart to pay it forward. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm just sort of in overwhelm a little bit because it's so much to take in
The
that
big story.
happened. Well, and it is so close to you and you didn't see
Mhm.
it. And my first
Yeah.
thought was, are you so glad you did not let her spend the night anywhere?
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure, for sure. And there's two lessons. There's many lessons, but there is one lesson that is two simple things that if I could teach any parent or grandparent that's listening to this call, it's this one phrase: surprises are great, secrets are not safe. If we can help our children understand that surprises, like we're having a surprise birthday party for mom, so we're not going to talk about it because it's going to be a surprise for her. Surprises are great. We love surprises. But when an adult asks you to keep a secret, this is a secret between you and me, that should be a red flag to you as a child. I need to tell my parents because my parents have told me secrets are not safe. Surprises are great, but secrets are not safe. And that's the one big lesson I learned.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to ask you directly as a woman who has a life, would your say so?
Mhm.
What does it mean to your life that you have settled in on something that matters?
Well, I didn't find it, it found me.
Okay.
And I want to say that I just surrendered this experience to God because I had no control over it. I had no control over her choosing to live instead of continuing to harm herself. I had no control over the justice system and the process. And I
Mm.
mean, it beat me down. Like I can sit here today and describe it and not be very emotional about it. But I was on the ground on my knees many days and it beat me down to a place of surrender. But from that surrender, I gained so much more strength that the world is not on my shoulders, that I just need to do the next right thing in front of me, and that God is ultimately in control and sovereign, and that I can take this mess and use it as a message to help other people is just really, really meaningful for me. And I'll tell you, too, the story of how the foundation was named was really impactful as well.
Tell me.
So, the foundation, God named the foundation, and the therapist is not a Christian. So, when my daughter inspired the therapist to create a foundation, the therapist said to my daughter, "What is the second word of the street name where your abuse happened? Because I want you, child, to remember when you think of the pain that you experienced there, I want you to hold on to the promise of good that's going to happen because of this foundation. So where something good is going to come out and it's because of you." So that word is field, like a field of flowers or field of daisies. Then the therapist looked out her window and picked the first thing that she saw, which was a willow tree. So she named the foundation Willow Field Foundation. And Sandy, what God and God alone knew, the therapist did not know. My daughter did not know. No one else was in the room with them that could have communicated or conveyed this to them at the time. The very moment when I was away from home at the times when my daughter was most vulnerable to abuse by this monster, I was sitting at 4747 Willow Road in Pleasanton, California, in a different state, working as an executive for a company. So that was God taking the name of the street where I was and combining it with the name of the street where she was and saying to me, Mama, you've got to let go of the shame and the guilt and the responsibility that you feel because of this. And if you will let go of that and surrender that to me, I will do something incredible with it. I will do something great with it. I will create a garden out of what was a grave, and something that was dead and hurtful and painful, I will make into something beautiful. And he is.
Oh, how can I even talk after that? It's so crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And look at that beautiful smile of yours.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that matters to me, and my daughters were there with me when I did my TED Talk, and my husband, which was so sweet. It was like I'm living as an example of what I want you to be doing at 70.
Yes.
I want you to be fulfilling your bucket list till your very last day, right?
Right.
But impact, the training that I've had, and looking back at that TED Talk and seeing it was already in there. The
Right.
curbs were in there, the wobbles were in there, and the grinders when you talk being ground down. My
Yeah.
most impactful sentence to me was when I wrote the words, I feel like I've gone backstage in a life I used to star in.
Mm.
Now, what's so crazy that you don't know is that so Rodney died in 19, then there was COVID, and then I met Steve, and I thought I'm going to emerge from this place. And the first place I went was convention, where people knew me as a winner, as an example. I got all dressed up. Steve even paid for me to go to that convention. And it
Mm.
was like the beginning of a reclaim. Like,
Mm.
okay, this is hard. Life happens.
Mhm.
And what am I going to do about it? So my
Mhm.
legacy is that how to take what happens in life and
Yeah.
maintain your sense of say. And that's what I
Yeah.
want to give every woman. So on my birthday, which this will probably air the week after or after, I'm giving away the first 3 chapters of my book.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I'll get it to you and you can send it to
Thank you.
everybody. And we'll have show notes that have a link and all that. But I love watching you be you, watching you claim you, watching you set on stage and be you. And I've been inspired by you. So I would just say thank you to
Um,
that. Is there any last word that comes to your mind to say, okay, listen up. This is it. We've said a lot, but is there one thing you'd like to just say in the end?
Around the topic that we're talking about and friction that you teach so eloquently and empowering women about, the thing that comes to mind for me is a phrase I heard a long time ago that where you are is not who you are, it's just where you are.
Mm,
And that has always stuck with me throughout what we were going through as a family, throughout what I went through with marriages that didn't work out, through business. I mean, everyone knows that a career and even as an entrepreneur, building a business is full of ups and downs, and that's normal. But learning to not claim your identity with what other people say about you because their praise is fleeting, and also just that the location or the circumstances don't define who you are. You are much more than that. And so that's the one closing thought I'd like to leave anyone listening to with.
well, Laura, I met you, I think, at that convention.
Yeah, yeah,
And here we are years later, and
I
I'm
know.
just so thankful and grateful that I was able to pick you out of the crowd because you had the biggest heart.
Well, been a blessing to me, Sandy. I am so glad that we were able to connect in that special like VIP lounge that we were hanging out in, and we became fast friends
I know.
for a life. And I'm so thankful for that. You're a blessing to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to Pink Lady Posse Podcast, where women go from what now to what's next. Come join us at pinkladyposse.com, where we share community, resources, and tools to support your next beautiful chapter. With love, light, and a little lipstick, See you next time.